Hello, I'm probably riding my bike. I feel like there's no better place to start a Tokyo video about riding bikes than Bluelug. This is their main store in Hatagaya. Bluelug are an inspiration to me and lots of people for building bikes that are good looking, practical, and fun. And this shop in Hatagaya is basically heaven for bike lovers. Let's step inside. Floor to ceiling, amazing bikes, bike accessories, everything you could ever want to buy. Be careful with your wallet here. Basically endless list of whatever you could want to buy. Rivendell, Crust, Velo Orange, Nitto Bits, topped with super friendly staff and a good hive of activity, customers flowing in and out each day. I'm quite a regular customer and it's almost next day delivery in Korea, but it's always nicer to come in person and pick things up and see the bits in real life that you end up buying. I didn't end up buying this Roduno, just look at it. All the tyres. I picked up a seat post and a bottle cage for an upcoming bike build. And I think I'll be back to pick up a few more things as well. We were lucky enough to borrow a couple of Rivendells from our friends at Bluelug for our trip. A Homer Hilson and a Platypus. I'll do a couple of bike checks later in this video. But you know that I enjoyed riding these rivs.
Platypus.
And my wife did too. Off from Bluelug, we're straight to another bike shop just around the corner.
Let's walk here.
Turn right, then slide left.
Just 5 minutes from Bluelug is Wood Village Cycles, a bike shop that specialises in vintage mountain bikes.
Okay. Till 7.
I first visited last summer and was amazed when I walked in by the smell of incense and the friendly vibe. Not your usual welcome to a bike shop. Yuta, the owner, is super nice, super cool. They have vases on sale, accessories, old frames, nice t-shirts. Just a great bike shop. Last summer, I joined them on their night ride across Tokyo. I think I'd arrived in Tokyo and 2 days later I was cycling across the city with about 30 other people. It was a really unique experience after just a few days of arriving in Tokyo. So I'm grateful for Yuta for inviting me to that. I'm also grateful and proud to my wife for coming to Bluelug to pick up a bike and then cycling from Hatagaya down to Ebisu.
Amazing colour over there.
It's not an easy thing to do in a different city on the other side of the road on a bike that you're not used to. But luckily she really enjoyed the Platypus. Luckily, I think Tokyo is pretty nice for cycling. It's quite flat. These back roads are really good with no cars. Cars are generally quite nice for bikes, not always, especially taxi drivers, as in every country. And this part of Tokyo, Setagaya, is my favourite part for cycling. I think it's the flattest and most bike friendly. It's where you see more kids and momocharis and mums and dads with their bikes fully loaded up with kids. Just now we're heading through Shimokitazawa, one of my favourite parts. It's got lots of record shops and cafes and bars and restaurants and live music. And it's got Nasuo Yajikade too, which is one of my favourite curry places. And he has wonderful taste in bikes. I didn't actually get to go this time in Tokyo. So I had a couple of friends I was meant to meet there, but they couldn't make it. So I ended up going to the new one in Kyoto. You'll see that in my next video. The classic Tokyo scene, waiting for the subway train to cross. I think I've said it in my other videos, but cycling is by far the best way to see the city, if it's safe enough to ride in. Some cities, I'm sure, would be awful to ride a bike in. But cities like Tokyo and Seoul and London, you get to see so much more, and you see more than you would otherwise. You don't just get to see it, you get to feel it and smell the different foods as you go past and hear the conversations, even if you can't understand them, and just take everything in more sensory than other ways of seeing a city. That's the way I like to do it anyway. Tokyo has a lot of infrastructure, like all these bike parking around the place. They're quite strict with parking on the street, but there's plenty of parking like this around, and it's nice for peace of mind. I think it's relatively safe. This one's at Sangenjaya, and we stopped off at our favourite izakaya. It's nice to go to izakayas because you can get a bit of everything. Some sashimi, some beef and tofu stew, and some tempura. This one has a good vibe. It was our first day in Tokyo. We didn't stay out that long. Time to cycle back to our house. Most bike parking places like this are free for the first couple of hours, and then they don't cost that much. I think the most I paid was about £1 or just over $1. Just a bit more night riding, just the two of us through the city, and we've arrived at Nakameguro, where we're going to check out one of the nighttime summer festivals. All good fun. Home for a rest and ready for a new day of riding bikes around in Tokyo. Day 2 of riding bikes in Tokyo. It's hot. Summer is super hot in Japan. But it's not as humid as Korea, so I feel it more bearable. And I think riding bikes is still the best way to get around. I feel hotter when I'm walking somehow. Tokyo is relatively flat, and there's enough shade most of the time. It's only really hot when you're stopping at a traffic light in the full sun. But I think I'm just a bit mental and addicted to riding bikes and don't want to go around any other way. It's a nice ride downhill from Ebisu down to Nakameguro, and we're heading off to one of my favourite cafes in Tokyo. Really, really delicious coffee. Stop off at the bike parking near the station. This bike parking has nothing to attach your bike to, so I guess Tokyo is relatively safe. We locked our bikes together, just to be sure. And just around the corner, one of the best cafes, on the bus. They have a few cafes around Tokyo and a roastery. They roast their own beans with beans from all over the world. This one has a really nice vibe next to the train tracks and the bike parking. The baristas are super nice. One of them I met last summer, she actually speaks Korean, so we spoke a little bit in Korean and English. And she gave me some other recommendations for cafes in Tokyo and in Kyoto. On the bus was one of the nearest cafes to where we were staying, so I stopped by a few times this time. This was the street where the summer festival was that you saw last night. It has some nice bike shops like this vintage BMX shop and Tokyo Bike as well. We stopped off for an early lunch as well of karaage and rice and grilled mackerel and rice. Tokyo has a reputation for being expensive, but sometimes you can eat out pretty cheap if you get a simple meal like this. And the exchange rate at the moment is helpful for us from outside of Japan too. Time to get our bikes and explore the Nakameguro area a bit more. Just meandering with no real plan, just going down any side streets that look interesting. Most of them seem to be around here. A little harder to stop off on the street with the lack of bike parking, but sometimes it's fine just to leave your bike outside of a shop. Just across the train tracks, we stopped near this river, which is famous for the cherry blossoms in the spring. I can't imagine how heaving it would be that time. A shop around the corner that had some nice track bikes. Would have been interested in my fixed gear days. Now I'm off to ride again by myself to check out another bike shop, one I haven't been to before. Let's go. Heading up towards Tokyo Tower. Last summer I went past it in the middle of the night on my way back from the Wood Village night ride. It's really cool lit up at night. Pretty cool in the day too. And I feel like it's a perfect backdrop to do a bike check of this Rivendell Homer Hilson. I'm not sure what size it is. It's probably a little small for me, but with a long enough seat post and stem, you can fit most bikes anyway. I've always wanted to try the Homer Hilson, and this was a fun bike to ride, especially with its 3x1, 3 up front and 1 at the back, or hand by 1, as everyone said at Bluelug. Perfect gearing for Tokyo. Actually, I think a 2x1 would be plenty. Even a single speed would be possible, because there aren't that many hills. Extremely lucky to borrow such a sweet bike, and I brought my own bag for it too, because you always need a bag on your bike. You need to let the bike do the carrying for you, so you don't need to have the burden on your shoulders. Let's find some bike parking. It's quite a fancy area with some tall office blocks and fancy shopping malls, and the bike parking is in the basement. Taking the elevator down. It was easy enough to find. Usually you can just search on Google Maps. I think there's more that aren't on the maps as well. Relatively safe. And I feel like it's going to be kind of an unusual area for a bike shop. Let's go up the escalator, through to the next tower, and into the Toranomon Hills Station Tower. Toranomon Hills Station Tower is quite a mouthful. To Circle's Tokyo. I'm a regular customer of Circle's online shop in Nagoya. They've got amazing customer service, really nice products, and things come pretty quickly. I still need to go to the Nagoya shop, but this one's a pretty cool one. We've got Omnium cargo bikes, all the Bassies. They have Sklar, Bike Friday, and their own Simworks Dopo frames. I'd love to try some of them out next time. I'm not someone who usually enjoys going to shopping malls, but if shopping malls had bike shops as nice as this, I think I'd be a regular customer. I was very controlled in this shop, and I only bought some brass cable ends for my upcoming build. Going to pick up the bike, with free parking again, and heading back off the elevator and out onto the road, the hot streets of Tokyo. Just parking up to pick up a quick bento box lunch back at the apartment before heading out for another coffee and another bike shop. Second coffee of the day is at Sneet Cafe. I think that's how you say it. It's spelled Sniite. Sneet, Sneete. It's a recommendation from the Omnibus Barista. It's like an art space cafe. I had some photography exhibition. The artist was there and he explained his photos to me. Some of them were taken in England. It was interesting to see different perspective of England. And I quite enjoyed the little annotations that he'd written on his photos in English. I think it's obviously his second language, but I think it came out in quite a fun way. And the cafe was on the way to another Bluelug. This is Bluelug Kamuma, further down south in Tokyo. It's got a more kind of small town vibe than the other Bluelugs. Bluelug has quite a different feeling, even though they have a lot of the same products. I think this one is the Rivendell Specialist. And if you're going to get a Rivendell built in Japan, I reckon Bluelug Kamuma is the place to go. Still floor to ceiling, cool stuff, but it feels a little less overwhelming than the Hatagaya Bluelug. A bit more space. I think Bluelug must have got their Roduno shipment quite recently because each shop was packed with Rodunos. They look like really fun bikes, especially in this hi-ho silver. I was close to getting that colour for a Sam Hill board. I kind of regret that I didn't, but I have enough Rivendells already. It's literally impossible to go to Bluelug and not buy something. This time I just got a few small things, like some headset spacers and some Nissan cable for this upcoming build that I've mentioned a few times. Very excited about the next one.
Turn left, then turn left.
Headed back for dinner and met up with Yuta from Wood Village Cycles and his wife Saika. We met them for dinner. I wish I had taken some photos and some videos together, but we had a really great time. And I appreciate them coming down to Edison to come and have dinner with us. I'm looking forward to hanging out with them again. Hopefully in Korea next time, but maybe in Japan again before that. Big apology to the Clean Bowl Club fans. I did a horrible job of documenting my clean bowls on this trip. If I didn't post a photo on the internet of my clean bowls, did they really happen? If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? I think yes to both. Another day of riding bikes in Tokyo. I've stolen the Platypus that my wife had borrowed just for the morning because I was keen to ride a Platypus. Again, it's a bit too small for me, but it has a long enough stem and seat post. It's still super comfy. It rides a little bit like my Clem, but a little smoother. I'd love to try a Platypus in my size. I think my wife absolutely adored this bike, and I think now she would like to have a Platypus. So maybe I'll have to swap out the frame and put all the parts from my Clem onto a new Platypus if I can find one in her size. The convenience stores in Tokyo and Japan are on another level. The quality of the food is generally quite nice, and you can get basically everything you can, with everything you want there. I like the onigiri and the egg sandwiches. And this morning I hadn't had any breakfast and it was quite hot, so I did need a bit of extra energy. So I got the tonkatsu sandwich, and the egg sandwich, along with a Pocari Sweat, ready to go for a ride to another bike shop. Here I am at a legendary bike shop, Hasegawa Bicycle Sales. I'm not sure how long it's been around, but their owners are an elderly couple, I think in their 80s, and he is particularly passionate about randonneur bikes. When I came with my Atlantis last year with its upright bars and kickstand, I don't think he really liked it that much. He couldn't speak English, but he made it very obvious that I should have drop bars, no kickstand. Everyone likes bikes in their own way. They have been really nice tow-away frames made in Japan, and just so much old parts. You can rummage around and find all sorts of lovely things. Last year I picked up a tiny little Nitto rack, a rear rack, for quite a good price. And you could rummage around all the derailleurs and brakes and cranks and find some gems. Certainly a bike shop with lots of character. He had a signed photo from Gary Fisher too, which was quite cool. And last year he showed me some really cool sketches that he did of bikes himself. I wish I had videos of those to show. Just across the road is your daily coffee. They roast their own, and they have just delicious iced coffee. The standard of iced coffee in Japan is on another level, I think. Every single one was, without fail, insanely delicious. I don't know if the water's better there. I don't know what they do differently. Maybe it's just because the weather's so hot, but every single iced coffee is incredible that I had in the specialty coffee shops. There are some dark roast ones which aren't really for me. Now I've been to Tokyo a few times for extended periods of time. I feel like I'm getting to know my way around the city a bit better. At least the west side of the city, around Setagaya, west of Shibuya. It's only a 2-hour flight from my home in Seoul, and it's the same time difference, so Japan's nice and easy to come to. And I feel like if I'm going to be coming this regularly, I would really love to learn some Japanese so I can have some proper conversations with people, especially about bikes. At least I want to learn a little bit more than just konnichiwa, arigatou gozaimasu, and doujoubu desu. But those could get you a long way. I think in general, people find Japanese people quite reserved, but I feel like if you have a similar interest like I do with the kind of bikes I like, then people are quite open. And I've probably made more friends here in the short time I've been here than years of when I lived in Germany or even when I lived in London. That was probably my fault anyway. Swapped bikes back with my wife to go out for a lunchtime ride, and I got some soba with the omeboshi, I think that's what it's called, the pickled plum. It's kind of addictively sour, like sour candies, but even better. You should try it. And after another incredible lunch, I think that generally the standard of food in Japan is very high. Even just like a standard meal is higher than a lot of places in other countries. Heading to another bike shop, through Shibuya in the famous crossing, and up towards Yoyogi Park. If you know Yoyogi Park, you might guess already which bike shop I'm heading to. It's another Bluelug. Not far from Shibuya is Bluelug Yoyogi Park. This was the first Bluelug I ever went to because I didn't plan ahead the first time I came to Tokyo. and the other Bluelugs are closed on Tuesday, but this one's open. This one has kind of like a little fancier vibe. I think it's in a slightly fancier neighborhood, but it's still a classic Bluelug with all the pull bits, hook saddle, stools, and just some lovely bikes. This periwinkle Sanhilbon was beautiful. I love that colour. And a custom painted Quick Beam, which is a staff bike. Would love to try that next time. Always some good bikes in the stand. MKS pedals. My next video is actually a visit to the MKS pedal factory. Definitely going to be worth a watch. A true highlight of my trip in Japan this summer. And of course, I did buy something while I was there. I got some MKS pedals for my upcoming bike build. And a beautiful purple Roduno. Super cool build. All these bike shops are making me hungry, so it's time to head back down to Shibuya for lunch. When I head to Shibuya, I always end up parking on this 8th floor bike parking lot. I don't know why I choose this one. I just think it's quite cool. Parking on the 8th floor of a building. Probably if I had to do it every day, it'd be kind of annoying. On the internet, people always talk about those bike parking places in Tokyo where you put it in and it whizzes into this machine underground. I don't know where those are, so I never actually tried one. I stopped up in Shibuya for some shopping and for one of my favourite meals, katsudon. And this is the best katsudon I ever had. 100% did a clean bowl club. I could have licked the bowl clean. It was so good. I find the restaurants here, they're quite small, so I don't really want to film because it might make other people too uncomfortable. But you can trust me, that one was 100% clean. Headed back to our apartment and then did some other non-bike related things in the evening. I don't only ride my bike. I do other things. Another day of riding bikes in Tokyo. I wish I could ride here every day. But while I'm here, I will. I'm so lucky to be here, and I feel grateful to have the opportunity. Despite the 37-degree heat, I'm still riding around with a huge grin on my face like I usually do. I'm riding north to Nakano to meet a friend. Let's go. Here we are at Calmside Coffee, a cute little cafe. The owner's a bike lover too. Of course, a delicious iced coffee, single origin. And I came here to meet a good friend, Alberto, with his new cargo bike. Or new to me, I think he's had it for a little while, relatively new. I'll do a bike check of that later on, but it's a super cool and interesting bike. I asked to meet Alberto up here because I wanted to go to Cromworks, but unfortunately, unexpectedly, Cromworks was closed this day, so it won't appear in my video. Next time. It is a nice shop. Hamzad owner was really nice, and he had a cool bike as well.
Feel like drop bars almost.
I'll be coming back. Next time I go to Cromworks, I'll definitely go to Kamzo Coffee for another coffee again. Alberto's lived in Tokyo for quite a while now. He's an art historian, doing a PhD and teaching as well, lecturing in universities. He's also an activist, organising protests and boycotts against the genocide happening in Palestine. I admire his determination, energy, focus on this issue, and how much he does to raise awareness. We met for the first time last summer when he reached out and I asked if anyone wanted to ride bikes in Tokyo. We did a day trip out to the lakes near Fuji, which was amazing. And we also did the exact ride we're doing again today. So we've only hung out 2 days, but it feels like meeting an old friend. It's good to be riding around again. Alberto loves bikes too. He's got even more than me. I've only seen 3 of them. I want to go and see the whole stable next time. We're cycling the whole way across the city from Nakano in the west over to the east side, stopping off for lunch. A clean bowl club, but no picture of the actual lunch of grilled fish and sashimi. It was glorious. It's always nice to be shown a city by someone who's lived there for so long and see their perspective on the place. I hope I can return the favour in Seoul soon. We're heading over to Ryogoku area, which is that kind of old Tokyo area, famous for sumo wrestling. And you know the bike shop's going to be good if they have customers who are sumo wrestlers. This is Ichigawa Bicycle Sales in Ryogoku. It's another randonneur style shop, but they sell all sorts of bikes and parts too. Loads of new old stock derailleurs, stems, cranks.
That's still cool.
And I think if you're looking for a randonneur, the prices seem quite reasonable. They have all the accessories you need, reflectors, bells, brake pads, all the kinds of bolts you need. Really useful shop if you're a bike nerd. And this is the main reason we came over to this side of the city. Last year I bought a new old stock Shimano Rapid Rise derailleur, which I have on my Atlantis. And today I picked up a Nitto front rack, which hooks onto my handlebars and doesn't interfere with my cantilever brakes. I'll post that in another video when I'm back in Seoul later. But I couldn't go empty-handed. Alberto bought some derailleurs too, front and rear. And I like how they're pretty old school and write down their tax and work it out on paper. A lot of the prices they get straight from the catalogue, so if it's an older catalogue, you actually get quite a nice price. I also got a book fellow last year for cheaper than most other shops. Definitely worth a visit. And just around the corner is another amazing bike shop, It wasn't actually open this day, and we weren't expecting to see him, but
This
it's
way?
JD Cycle Tech. Sorry for disturbing you on your day off, James, but I just wanted to take a picture of your shop, and you happened to be there. I didn't get any pictures inside because it was his day off. We had a chat. He checked out the bike that he'd built for Alberto and showed us his cool road bike. We just casually replaced the fork that he made and replaced the chainstays so he could fit some wider 650p wheels in. Excited to see this bike finished. I'd love to have the skill to be able to just do that yourself with an old road bike. We've cycled across the whole city, had some lunch, seen some bike shops. It's time to get caffeinated again. Around the corner from JD Cycle Tech and Ichigawa is chill out coffee and records. Tiny little cafe which sells records, as it says, and has really delicious coffee as well and good vibes. And sometimes, even on a really hot day, I get a bit tired of the iced coffees and just want a warm, flat white or latte. So today we went for that. Alright, a bike check of Alberto's Lug Tomigaya bike. Cross tower rack bars, really wide. The geometry of this bike is quite interesting. It's like riding a sofa, a little faster. I love the colour and the long head tube. Really cool, unique, interesting bike. I think Alberto is quite pleased with it.
Oh yeah.
A quick ride along the river. The stairs probably should have told us that we weren't actually allowed to ride there, but it's a nice little shortcut away from the cars for a few minutes
Yeah.
near the Tokyo
Breaking the
Sky
rules.
Tree.
Yeah.
And we weren't really that hungry, but we knew it was around the corner, so we had to stop off for a slice of New York style pizza. At Maple Pizza near Asakusa. I have never been to New York, but I've had plenty of slices of New York style pizza, and this is the best I've had. Truly glorious. A couple of the other customers were actually Korean, and I heard them talking about Alberto's Japanese. They were very impressed. After a great day of riding bikes, drinking coffee, eating delicious food, we went our separate ways, and I was commuting home with all the office commuters in their white shirts and trousers. I love an evening ride home with the low sun, reflecting on a wonderful day. Looking forward to just my last day of riding in Tokyo. The last day of riding in Tokyo, for this trip at least. There'll be plenty more to come, I'm sure. My wife and I have to cycle across the city from Ebisu to Hatagaya to return our bikes to Bluelug. It's super hot, so we're going to stop off at as many places as we can to cool down. It's just one hill out of Nakameguro.
Nakameguro is in the valley.
I volunteered to push the bikes up the hill because I know that not everyone wants to ride around when it's 35 degrees outside. So I want to make it as comfortable as possible for my wife. A little bit sad to be returning these bikes that we've had so much fun on this week. But we're heading to Kyoto next, And there's some cool bikes waiting for us there too. And of course, there's plenty of nice bikes waiting for me back in Seoul.
Oh.
In 270 meters, turn left onto road.
Huh? Ah, a cafe too.
Our first stop off is for one of our favourite places in Tokyo for lunch, which specialises in grilled fish lunchboxes to take out, but they have a small eating area to eat in as well. Some of the best grilled fish we've ever had. A really simple, delicious lunch. And I actually recorded a clean bowl grill for you. Spotless, immaculate. We cycled past Lug Tomigaya on the way to the restaurant, and after eating, my wife suggested, why don't we go to Lug Tomigaya? And when your wife is suggesting to go to Bluelug, you've got to take that chance. I'm a very lucky man. Just a short trip to Lug Tomigaya. My wife's favourite because she likes the feeling and the openness of it and the kind of village vibe. But I was very happy to go back and chat to everyone there. Even though I've been to all three Bluelugs more than once on this trip, every time I'm still looking around like it's my first time, finding new things and things I want to buy. There's endless stuff. Have you ever been to the Sir John Soanes Museum in London, which is floor to ceiling, amazing artifacts from history, which is interesting, but I just need floor to ceiling bike parts. Take me to Bluelug. I decided to buy a new frame pump and just wanted to know what size would fit in my Suzy, so they kindly obliged and measured the Suzy they had hanging up, so I knew which size to buy. And I got to see some exciting new things in the works too. I really appreciate that they shared them with me. Your daily coffee, where I went earlier in the video, is not far from Lug Tomigaya too, so it's a good place to stop, right next to Hasegawa Bike Shop. And just around the corner again, we're going to do some tourist shopping. A classic tourist thing to do in Japan is to buy some Japanese knives. I love cooking, so I love buying some good knives. We went to this shop, Hitohara, last summer and bought two knives. I can't remember the Japanese names, like one of the square vegetable knives and a short paring knife. And this time we decided to go for a classic santoku, which is like a classic chef's knife. So I'm looking forward to doing some cooking with this. Definitely recommend hitting that one up It's got a nicer feeling and vibe than a lot of the ones in Asakusa in the more touristy area. But I'm sure you can get very nice knives in those shops too. On this day, I think our limit for riding was about 10 minutes before we got quite hot. And just 10 minutes away was Fuglen in Hanegi-kun. So Fuglen is quite a famous cafe, I think originally from Norway, but their Japanese locations are very famous. There's one by Yoyogi Park, which is the main one. It always has a queue. The one in Hanegi Park is I prefer because it's much quieter. Last year it was our local cafe, only about a 5-minute ride from the house we're staying in. And we wanted to visit that neighbourhood again because it was such a delightful place to stay. I think if we come to Tokyo again, we'll try and stay in this neighbourhood every time. It's just closer to all the stuff we like, and it's much better for cycling as well. This street's particularly nice with all the trees to cool you down. Should definitely plant more trees around the city to cool down the streets. It definitely reduces the temperature by a few degrees. What better thing to do on a 35-degree day than to go for a soak in a hot tub, stopping off at this local bathhouse. I think most of them, this one does anyway, they have beautiful paintings of Fuji-san, Fuji Mountain. On the women's side, they have a summer view, and the men's is a winter scene of Fuji. Obviously, I couldn't get any pictures inside. I'll keep those for my OnlyFans. But I never imagined that soaking in 40-something degree water would make me feel so kind of light and refreshed afterwards and kind of cool again to go outside. Felt like I was in a cloud afterwards. Taking the main road back down towards Shinjuku with this quite wide bike lane. We're heading back to Bluelug and Hatagaya, almost there to give our bikes back. It was nice to see some internet friends in real life and have one more look around. Really appreciate borrowing the bikes from them, and we can't wait to come back again, whenever that is. Hope you enjoyed my video in Tokyo, one of my favourite cities. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more. Got some fun videos coming up.
2 weeks.
See you later.
1 week.